Welcome to Humans of Animal Care, a collection of audio stories that highlight people who've dedicated themselves to helping animals. Today we'll be hearing from Gina Sanseri, the Community Cats and TNR Director at ASAP Cats Shelter. We learn about Gina's career as a fire investigator inspector and her perspective on cats living outside in the community. We discuss topics such as TNR, which stands for Trap, Neuter, and Return, and the highs and lows of working in animal welfare. Gina also tells us about 2 memorable rescue stories during her work with community cats.
My name is Gina Sanseri. I am the Community Cats Coordinator, the ASAP Cat Shelter. And I don't know that I ever thought I wanted to work with animals. I just love animals, and I like to take care of them and help them. So it just kind of morphed into being a volunteer helping animals. Cats, mostly. But I'd pick up dogs. I'd pick up bunnies, too. I actually graduated from Santa Barbara City College with a marine technology degree, and I worked for a Canadian company with tourist passenger carrying submarine. So I helped build one, and then in Canada, and then I went down to the Caribbean with it for a year. It was totally cool, but I just wanted to come home to Santa Barbara. So then I came back here and I got a job with the city, and then I ended up at the fire department, Santa Barbara City Fire Department, as an investigator inspector for 30 years. Working for the fire department is all about serving the community, which I have learned if I didn't have service in my life, I'm pretty sure I would go a little crazy and feel like I had no purpose in life and like, what's the point? So hopefully a lot of people feel like service is the way to go because it'll only make the world a better place. So as a fire inspector and investigator, I would figure out the cause and origin of the fires. Mostly we did structure fires because I'm just concentrated in the city. So no wildland, very minimal wildland fires. I would also review construction plans and help people get permits to build their homes, their businesses, whatever they were building that they needed a permit for. And probably the absolute funnest part of my job was getting to work with people in the community who were trying to put on an event. And the funnest were the fire dance people. So every little place they wanted to do a fire dance show or at a festival or a party or whatever, they had to get a permit because obviously they're flinging flaming objects all around, and pretty easy to start a fire with that if they're not doing it super consciously, and just documenting their whole process to make sure it's all safe. And then I generally got to go out for the show and watch and just kind of be a fire watch. So I got to be paid to go to the fire dance performances. The challenging part of the job probably was seeing a lot of people lose everything they had or lose their life to a fire. Probably about 10 years ago, somebody approached me about fostering a mama cat and babies. So I gave that a try and was pretty much hooked. It's a lot of work and it's super cute at the same time. I ended up being the foster program director. While I was still working my day job, on the weekends, I would teach people how to foster and take care of babies and mamas and babies. And then once I retired, which is 6 years ago now, I picked up a shift at the shelter. And being on a shift and seeing people bring cats in that I thought didn't really need to come to the shelter, I started thinking, oh, well, this could be your neighbor's cat. What if they don't know to call here looking for their cat? Now we have another cat in the shelter that actually had a home. So then when I started working at the shelter, there became a national movement or trend called community cats. And that was all about a healthy, thriving cat outside in a community is perfectly fine. That cat does not have to go to the shelter. I was an excellent candidate for this thinking because my family, my mom, all growing up, our cats always went indoor, outdoor. We'd get them in at night. So I see how happy cats are outside. I have no patience for their fussing when they're inside and just want to go out. So I've always indulged them and to let them choose their life. So my role at ASAP now, besides I still foster, I am the official community cats coordinator. So I help anyone in the community with any kind of cat issue they have. I deal with people who are either seeing a new cat around their place, see an injured cat, their cat got out, they need to trap a cat or whatever. Like every day I text and or have a conversation with somebody, probably 1 to 4 people every single day from morning till night. Sometimes it gets to me through a next door post, sometimes a phone call, sometimes an email. So now with social media and next door and flyers and whatnot, we encourage people to figure out the cat's story before just picking it up and bringing it in. And it has, I don't even know how many cats we've prevented from having to come to the shelter and they get to stay in where they live or in a community where they're thriving. So it just really comes natural to me, where it really doesn't for other people. I have arranged to meet up with someone today. She has an unfixed male cat around her property, been feeding it, likes it. She can't really pick him up, but she can pet him. She wants to get him fixed and he can go back to her property, which is super great. That's like our dream situation. These cats, they learned how to survive wherever they ended up. They choose their home, and when they get to go back, it's so great. So trapping's pretty traumatic and it's not always needed. So I loaned her a dog kennel. Told her to set it up with a blankie in it, blankie over it, feed him right there. And yet one of these times you'll be able to put the food all the way back in there and shut the door. And then we'll fix him. But then I thought, well, she said he's not fixed, but people get this wrong all the time. They'll be like, he's an unfixed male, and we get it. And it's like, oh, it's a fixed female. Like it's a brown something or other, but it's really an orange cat. I try not to believe people too much and just kind of go with the situation and then verify everything later. So she's like, yeah, I could pet him. And I'm like, well, you know what? In the meantime, let's just see if he has a microchip. So I'm going to loan her my microchip reader today. She'll check if no chip and he's indeed not fixed, then we'll lure him into the carrier and we'll fix him for her. The microchip reader has been so successful at reuniting cats out in the field with their owners. If they had moved and the cat like returned back to the house, or the cat got displaced somehow. I mean, we've reunited cats like that, even who've been missing for a year. So trapping is basically when you can't really get the cat any other way. Or if it's urgent, maybe like the cat is injured, but it's injured to the point where it could still move enough and you can't get it. But we don't want to wait too long if a cat has a pretty bad injury. And it could be a friendly cat, it could be someone's pet. Just, when a cat is injured, it could be pretty protective of itself. I had this gigantic tuxedo cat start coming around my house. He was beating up my cats and he was so persistent and just bold. He would just stare me down and I'd throw temptation treats at him. And I thought, oh, maybe I could pet him. Maybe I could check for a microchip, but I could never get near him. So I set up a trap and I got him. He'll be fixed. He can't return back here because he's being a nuisance. So we're going to find him a new placement, like a barn or a winery or somewhere where he could just like be outside and hopefully not beat up other cats. I had him on next door. Nobody around said they feed him. Nobody said he's theirs. So I don't even know how he got here. But that's one of the reasons why a cat can go to the shelter and be intaked is when they're being a nuisance. Unfixed males they fight, they scream and yell, and they often spray urine on doors, windows, and whatnot. So they're pretty disruptive. So a nuisance cat can go to the shelter, sick or injured cat, a cat that's been abandoned with evidence of abandonment, a cat that's lost. So if we check it for a microchip, it comes back, the person's like, oh my God, that's my cat. I haven't seen him in 6 months. If the person where the cat is doesn't want to facilitate the reunion, then the cat can come to the shelter and we will facilitate it. Little kittens that are old enough to be eating on their own, not nursing. Like we don't want to pick up nursing kittens and bring them to the shelter without mom, because then we have bottle feeding babies, which is so much work. So kittens that are already 6 weeks or older, they can come to the shelter, or mama cats with babies, or a pregnant cat. And unfixed males, they can come as well. But like I said, we really hope they can go right back to where they are. So we try to time their intake for a day when we're actually doing surgery. So he can have surgery that day and go right back out, never even has to stay at the shelter.
What we've found is babies maybe at 2 months old, which is 2 pounds, which is pretty small. We can socialize in our tiny land program. It's all about using some really good stinky food that they really want and to do it on a stick just to get them used to like a hand coming in a little bit and then a hand a little closer and then licking it off our fingers and then finally try and touch them. And it's all about trying to get the babies to seek attention versus tolerate it, which was the old way of thinking, is just grab the baby and wrap it up in a blanket and hold on to it until it stops fighting and fussing. And all that does is teach them how to tolerate humans versus learning how to like us and want to be with us. But I think definitely if a baby's 2 months old, they're like, I think we could socialize it. If it gets up to 3 months old, it's hit or miss. And then above that, pretty much, I think across the nation, they will fix unsocial 3-month-olds and put them back wherever they came from. Maybe if some of the babies don't socialize, then they need a placement. And basically, there's no other option for those types of cats. But, those are out in kind of wilderness areas, and there's coyotes and all kinds of different stuff that can get the cats. Yeah, I really hate having to relocate cats, but sometimes that's what happens. So we have to do the best we can to make them safe and hope they survive. Just try and be creative and think about, well, what could work for this cat it's social and it's sweet, but it's also sassy. I know before we would encourage everyone to have indoor-only cats, especially if they have white-tipped ears and pink nose. They get skin cancer. It's not hard for me to see outside cats. It seems very natural. But other people, completely distresses them. So you got to think about what's going to be your strength. Like, I want to help our vet staff so bad because they always need help, but I hate needles. I'm like, I really want to help you, but can't do it. I just can't. Like, I know I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I already can't sleep at night sometimes. If I know, oh man, I didn't get that cat, and now it's raining, or it's cold, or it's, and I worry. Yeah, animal welfare is quite the spectrum of emotions, right? It can be just like heavenly, and it can just be so sad and horrible. I worked for the fire department for 30 years, right? I saw horrible things. I could totally sleep just fine, but animals, forget it. They keep me up. So it's a tough field and very rewarding. It can be seriously overwhelming, like I said, from morning till night. So I'm learning how to have some boundaries and not look at that phone. And then sometimes I think, this is too much. And then I think, well, if I didn't have it, I would feel like my life didn't really matter. I need to do something that makes a difference in the world. and animals just happen to be my thing. Some people are children, some are homeless, whatever. Mine's animals. Even though people ask, is it hard? And I'm like, yeah, it's hard. Doesn't mean I shouldn't do it because I'm very happy. I'm contributing to the world being a better place.
I asked Gina if there were any moments that stood out during her time helping the community cats in Santa Barbara.
Got a call from a woman who said at a property they own, she can see little baby kittens on the other side of a chain link fence, and she thought one of them was blind. She said they were pretty small. They weren't moving around a whole lot. She knew the mom cat. Everybody around the property was feeding her. She was very unsocial. Nobody could pet her, do anything like that. So I told her I'd meet her out there and look at the scene. Like if the babies were still nursing, like that small, that's one of those where it's like, is the baby really blind? Because if it is, little babies are very vulnerable. A little blind baby is like doubly vulnerable. And they're sick, or is their eyes, do they have an infection? Who knew? I went and checked it out. Indeed, I think there were 6 babies. I think all of them, their eyes looked either infected or something wasn't quite right. One definitely looked like it was blind already. I estimated them to be about 4 weeks, which is almost starting to eat, but they were still nursing because nobody's feeding the babies. And I didn't see mom anywhere. The gal was just so convinced that I was going to be getting the babies that she stopped at Home Improvement on the way there, bought bolt cutters and handed me the bolt cutters. And she said, you're going to need these to cut the fence open. And I was like, oh, well, maybe we should check with, the other property owner. She goes, no, it's my dad'll fix it. All right. So I like snip, climbed in there. I'm very small, so I can fit in small spaces. I climbed in there, weeds and stickers, and it was not fun. The babies were all covered in stickers as well. I had her set up with a carrier. I just started grabbing each baby and handing them out to her. So then we got all the babies. It is like a rare moment that I will ever take kittens without getting mom, because you're not solving the problem. I tell everyone at the shelter, if anyone walks in with kittens, your number one question is, where's mom? Because without getting mom, this problem's going to start all over again. So I used the kittens in a carrier. I put them, the door shut. I put a trap, the blocked end of a trap up against the carrier, put a towel over it, and then opened the trap on the other end, baited it with food. So either the food could lure her in, or if the baby started crying in the carrier, she was a good mommy. So she would try and get to those babies. And the only way she could have was into the trap. So within an hour, I caught mom. So we, some of those pictures of us at the shelter cleaning the baby, getting all the stickers off of them and checking their eyes. And I think we had a doctor there that day, and they were willing to eat a little bit of Gerber baby food. So they were transitioning from nursing to eating food. So we got them a foster who could supplemental bottle feed and feed food and transition them. And they were the most beautiful babies ever. And my friend, she adopted the little blind boy and his sister, and they're so bonded. So cute to be able to see them all the time. So I got a call from this man who said a cat had kittens in his backyard. He was feeding the mom. I went out. It was kind of up on a stone ledge. 3 of the babies were up there, 3 or 4 babies. Moved garbage cans and started moving stuff away so I could get a little closer to them to see. And then I found 3 babies on the ground, all lined up like little sausages. I was pretty sure they were dead because, they'll die from cold pretty fast. So I started picking them up to move them, and the 2 outer ones were in fact dead, and the one in the center was being kept just barely warm enough to still be alive, but barely moving. It felt horrible. So I had a carrier with a heating pad in my car. I put him in there, wrapped him up in a little blankie, and I went back. Mommy ran off, so I set up a carrier up there. I put the babies in it. And I told the guy, just keep an eye out. When you see mom, go in the carrier, shut the door. And you might be able to do that. She might run out, but. So I had him looking at that while I took the baby to a friend's house, and we were going to try and warm him up and bottle feed. when I went back to my car, just being warmed up a little bit. He was moving all around. I mean, his eyes were closed. He was teeny tiny. He was probably only a matter of days old. So we ended up saving him. I named him Ice Cube. We bottle fed him. And so then I called the guy like an hour or 2 hours later, and he's like, nope, I haven't seen her go back in there. Nope, nope, nope. So I went and looked, and the babies were gone. So she had gone in there, moved every baby somewhere. Yeah, we had every neighbor looking out. We were checking every yard. Across the street was a ginormous construction dumpster. Eventually, I thought, well, in 8 weeks, if we haven't seen the babies by then then didn't make it, because by 8 weeks they're running around playing. And so everybody just kept keeping an eye out. And I saw Mom one time sitting up on top of that dumpster, and I thought, you did not put those babies in there. And I climbed around in that thing, which was full, and I made little noises to see if I could hear little scurrying, and nothing, nothing, nothing. And then, God, it might have even been 10 weeks. Give them a little extra time. The woman at the house with the dumpster, she's like, well, can we have the dumpster emptied? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. And they were supposed to come that one day. They didn't. And I think it was that night a neighbor saw the babies playing on debris on top of the dumpster. So, yeah, I put big signs all over the dumpster, do not empty. Kittens inside. I told the woman, she called Marburg and canceled the dump, and it ended up having to trap the babies and trapped Mom. Got her fixed. She was a sweet cat once trapped, but you couldn't pet her out in the field. But once she was trapped in at the shelter, sweet as could be. So we found her a home, and the babies got homes as well.
This has been Humans of Animal Care. Thanks for listening.